Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
And this is going to be our Banzuke prediction episode for the Nagoya Basho. And it is the Nagoya Basho this year, not just the July tournament, since it does actually sound like they're going to Nagoya. That actually took me by surprise. I thought they were just going to be sticking around the Kokugi-Con again.
Yeah, they're making one poor decision to accommodate their larger poor decision of keeping the Olympics going in July in Tokyo.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about that this time. I've got a lot to say about this Banzuke prediction. It's a particularly tough one, I think. So, Jake, before I talk for 50 minutes straight, do you have anything you need to get in?
I guess not really. My puppy Daisy surgery finally happened, went well. I don't know how much I've talked about that on the show recently, but it was especially cool because she made it all the way through surgery only to become a giant crabby jackass that I might kill anyways, because she's just staring at Katie out in the living room, screaming in her face. So you'll definitely get some sound effects, but that will probably be my biggest contribution to this particular episode.
Yeah, my dog Piper hasn't been at daycare for 2 straight days because of the Memorial Day holiday, and so
she's a nightmare too.
Yeah, so you might hear a little bit of Piper in the background as well. We'll kind of see how it goes along. But like I said, I've got a lot to talk about on this one, so let's dive right into it. It starts
professional podcasting.
Exactly. Starts off super easy. Yokozuna. There's only one. It's Hakuho. So he's going to be the Yokozuna. Ozeki. This might be actually the most Ozeki rank drama I've ever had, and being unsure of who to place where, because what do you do with 2 Ozeki that finish with the same record, but the lower ranked one beat the higher ranked one in a playoff for the U show? So this has happened 3 previous times, and it doesn't give me a whole lot of clear answers. Nagoya 1963, Ozeki 3 East, Kitabayama defeated Ozeki 1 West, Sadanoyama in the playoff match. The next Basho, however, Sadanoyama was the highest ranked Ozeki, followed by Kitabayama. And then in Kyushu of 1996, we had the 11-4 three-way playoff that happened all between 3 different Ozeki. You had Ozeki 1 West, Musashi Maru, who defeated Ozeki 1 East, Wakanohana, and Ozeki 2 East, Takanonami. And in the next Basho, they just remained in the same exact order that they were before. So Musashi Maru did not leapfrog over Wakanohana. But in Hatsu of 2002, you had Ozeki 2 West, Tochiazuma, defeat Ozeki 2 East, Chiyo Taikai. And then the next Basho, Tochiazuma did jump over Chiyo Taikai to be the highest ranked Ozeki. So don't know 100% sure what they're going to be doing with Teruno Fuji and Takakeisho this Basho, but I'm going to go with the most recent precedent, and I'm going to put Teruno Fuji ahead of Takakeisho. So my Ozeki rankings are going to be East 1, Teruno Fuji, West 1, Takakeisho, East 2, Shodai, West 2, Asanoyama. I mean, they've already written the Banzuke and they haven't said an announcement for Asanoyama's punishment. So he's going to be on the Banzuke no matter what. Even if they do decide, yeah, we need to make him retire, he will still show up on the Banzuke. And when he does, he will be the bottom ranked Ozeki.
Yeah, Shodai and Asanoyama made their slots easy.
Yes. Sekiwake, another fairly simple one. Takayasu is going to stay as your Sekiwake East, and Mitake Yumi is going to jump up to take the place of the falling Takanosho for Sekiwake West. And then we get to Komusubi. Komusubi East, fairly simple, straightforward, Wakataka Kage. He is going to be taking the place of the falling Daisho. Actually, is going to be taking the place of the rising Mitake Yumi. But Daisho is also going to be leaving the Komusubi ranks. So it's that Komusubi West spot where there's a little bit more drama there. It could go to Meisei, who was 8-7 at Maegashira 2, or it could go to Endo, who was 11-4 at Maegashira 8. Both of them deserve to be the same rank based on their previous record and rank. So we're going to go ahead and put Meisei up to make his Sanyaku debut at Komusubi West because he was in the Joy in the previous Basho. But I do think if Endo had beaten Shodai on day 15, I think he probably would have leapfrogged over Meisei to take that Komusubi spot. But as it is, I've got Meisei taking that last Sanyaku rank.
That's probably about how far it actually is easy, isn't it?
Maegashira 1 and 2 aren't terrible. We'll get there. So
yeah, I'm just looking at how many Kachikoshis there are compared to Makikoshis, and it's a doozy.
Yep. We will get there in due time, my friend.
I'm just so excited.
Ooh, that's a first for these episodes.
Yeah, I had a lot of caffeine today. This is my first day back at work after a full week of vacation. I took a bunch of time off for that for Daisy's surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, today I was I got a little extra pep in my step.
All right.
It's sorry to interrupt again, but it's a Banzuke prediction day. So
yeah,
I needed extra caffeine.
I knew I wasn't the only person that got excited for these episodes. There had to be at least one other person that enjoyed these.
Yeah, I mean, when I see that pop up on the calendar, I'm like, yep, time to self-medicate today.
When Jake sees 7 pages of outline for a Banzuke prediction episode, he knows it's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Every time I scroll, there's just blocks of text.
Yeah. I know it's bad.
I'm willing to bet you're going to read word for word every time.
That's how I do it. Got to get all my thoughts on the page so I can react exactly how I was thinking when I made the Banzuke up. Maegashira 1 East, since we weren't sure if Endo could get that final Komusubi rank, we're going to have him getting the top-ranked Maegashira for Nagoya. And then Maegashira 1 West, I have Daisho falling just 1 rank after his 6-9 record from the Komusubi rank. Despite typically expecting a 2 to 3 rank drop after a 6-9 record, it's not unprecedented for Komusubi to fall down to only Maegashira 1 after a 6-9 record. Plus, there isn't any real competition for the Maegashira 1 West rank, as the next person who needs a promotion only deserves to be Maegashira 3. So I think it's fairly easy to slot in Daisho here. Maegashira 2 on the east side, I've got Ichinojo jumping up 4 ranks from Maegashira 6 to Maegashira 2 after a 9-6 record. And as Jake alluded to, here's where the block of texts start up big time. So this is where we're really going to begin to notice, much like the previous 2 Banzukes, where we're going to have some issues. So after Ichinojo and Endo, there are only 6 more Rikishi that we can promote in the Makuuchi division
out of roughly 30.
Yeah. So there are 33 Maegashira in the Makuuchi division, and 8 had winning records.
Less than 1/4.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know the percentage on that, but it's not good. And we've already placed 2 of them. We placed Endo, and we just placed Ichinojo at Maegashira 2 East. So for our remaining 30 Makuuchi slots, we can only have 6 of those filled by promotion, which is not ideal.
Oh, man. Yeah, so basically what you're saying is we're going to be promoting from like lower Juryo into Maegashira 8 or something.
Yeah, there's going to be a Makushita guy that sneaks up in here. Funnily enough, yeah. So not only are there only 6 more Rikishi that have a winning record, there aren't any until Maegashira 11 West. And there's only one of those 6 that we can justify a semi-large promotion for due to having a double-digit winning record. And that's Chiyo Tairyu, who had a 10-5 record from Maegashira 14. So to reemphasize how poor the top Maegashira did in this Basho, of the top 20 Maegashira from ranks Maegashira 1 to Maegashira 10, there are only 4 Rikishi with a winning record. And according to Tachiai, this is tied for the fewest Rikishi with a winning record in the top 10 Maegashira ranks in the modern era, and the worst performance by these ranks in over 20 years. So much like the past 2 Banzukes, where we've had similar kind of situations, just not to this level, it's going to force us to make huge over promotions and fairly decent amount of under demotions as well. But I think this one is probably going to have the largest over promotions that we have seen, at least the largest ones that I've predicted to happen. But I don't see any way around it.
For what it's worth, part of the reasoning for that is we did have a decent number of Kyujo this time around. We had a decent number of guys sitting out. We also had a handful of guys at the top soaking up a ton of the wins. So there's a handful of people that have way too many wins and a ton of people who have just barely too many losses.
Yeah.
So like there's obviously only one win for every one loss on the total schedule, but just the way they're distributed here is like way on one end of the bell curve for how it can turn out.
Exactly. So having said all that, at Maegashira 2 West, I have Takanosho dropping down from Sekiwake to Maegashira 2, which isn't all that dissimilar from Daisho dropping from Komosubi to Maegashira 1 after a 6-9 record. In terms of how often it happens, it's the Sekiwake equivalent of having a 5-10 record. They happen about the same amount of time. And if there's a Banzuke that justifies those drops, it's this one. Maegashira 3 East, Hokuto Fuji. Boom, perfect, simple. Maegashira 3 West for him, dropping 2 ranks after a 6-9 record. There's really nobody else that you can argue to take that rank from him. So then we get down to Maegashira 3 West, and that's when things really start getting ugly for us. So what we are left with for candidates at Maegashira 3 West are Tobizaru, who was Maegashira 2 and had a 5-10 record.
So
and
that's not happening.
Yeah, so him to drop only 1 rank after a 5-10 record has never happened in the modern era, at least at this portion of the Banzuke. Who knows? Maybe there's like a Maegashira 7 who dropped down to Maegashira 8 after a 5-10 record due to some horrendous Banzuke or something like that. That might have happened. I didn't do all that research. At least Maegashira 2 to 3 after 5-10 record has never happened. We also have another candidate of Chiyo Tairyu, who would be promoted 11 ranks after a 10-5 record from Maegashira 14, which has also never happened in the modern era of sumo. But there are 2 instances of a Maegashira 14 being promoted to Maegashira 2 after a 10-5, so it is feasible.
So you're saying that 0-15 Chiyo can't just hold his slot?
I don't think so. It was not due to COVID. He should have known that the leg was bum and just should have gotten out, had a stranger cough in his face and catch the COVID so he wouldn't drop his rank. No, we shouldn't make jokes like that. Sorry. I retract that joke. It was in poor taste and I apologize.
I'm going to put 1 demerit on your record.
All right. That's fair, and I will gladly accept it. Then there is one other candidate for that Maegashira 3 West rank. Once again, we're either demoting Tobizaru 1 rank, promoting Chiyo Tairyu 11 ranks for a record that would usually justify 6-4 ranks, or Koto Eiko promoting him 9 ranks from Maegashira 12 after a 9-6 record, which has happened 8 times in the modern era. But I went back and looked. Never did they have somebody at like Maegashira 14 or 15 with 10 wins to challenge them for that Maegashira 3 rank to kind of see, okay, if you have these 2 guys who would jump ahead of the other to take that spot. So ultimately, I'm eliminating Tobizaru from the group of contenders for this because there's never been that much of an under demotion for Rikshi with a 5-10 record. And then it is just down to Chiyo Tairyu versus Koto Eiko. And I'm going to go with Chiyo Tairyu because I believe the Banzuke committee would rank a Maegashira 14 with 10 wins ahead of a Maegashira 12 with 9 wins in a normal scenario, like if they were competing for the Maegashira 9 rank. So I will place Chiyo Tairyu ahead of Koto Eiko in this scenario as well. So that means I have Chiyo Tairyu jumping up 11 ranks from Maegashira 14 West to Maegashira 3 West. It just shows how big of a dearth of eligible candidates there are for that ranking. So at Maegashira 4 East, I'm going to go with Koto Eiko there. Koto Eiko is guaranteed a spot at Maegashira 4. It's just, and I say he's guaranteed a spot there. It's because there's no other people that can be promoted ahead of him. The only records remaining after we take Chiyo Tairyu off the board are 9-6 guys that are ranked below Koto Eiko, or there's one 8-7 guy that's ranked ahead of Koto Eiko, but he's only 1 rank ahead, so Koto Eiko is going to jump over him. So Koto Eiko is guaranteed a spot at Maegashira 4. So it's just kind of a matter of Maegashira 4 West of whether the Banzuke committee is also going to massively over promote Oki no Umi, or if they're going to prevent Oki no Umi from jumping that high by under demoting Tobizaru with a two rank drop from Maegashira 2 after his 5-10 record. So either way, whoever doesn't join Kodawako at Maegashira 4 will end up at Maegashira 6 or worse, because Hoshoryu and Onosho both had 7 and 8 records at Maegashira 5, will not be moving. They're going to be helping us stop a little bit of this over promotion and under demotion bleeding. But I have Kodawako going as the last guy in the Joy. So at Maegashira 4 West, I am going to go with Tobizaru for the spot, dropping only 2 ranks after a 5-10 record from Maegashira 3. And I actually have some recent past precedent to back me up on this. In July of 2020, Takeda Fuji was Maegashira 3 with a 5-10 record. Takayasu was Maegashira 13 with a 10-5 record. So it's the same difference in rank as between Tobizaru and Oki no Umi right now. That's 10 ranks. I predicted for the Aki 2020 Basho that Takayasu would be ahead of Takeda Fuji, but the Banzuke committee placed Takeda Fuji ahead of Takayasu for the next Basho at Maegashira 5. So in our current scenario, I'm going to give Tobizaru the benefit of the joy bias and put him ahead of Oki no Umi because the rank difference is the same as the previous example where we had a 5-10 versus a 9-6. Well, actually, Takayasu had a 10-5 record in that one and still didn't jump ahead of Takeda Fuji in that situation. So he had an even stronger case to be promoted ahead of Takeda Fuji in that case. So I'm going with Tobizaru dropping only 2 ranks to Maegashira 4 West. You all right there, Jake? I saw you had to run out a couple of times.
Yeah, I just saw that this was going to be a long one, so I bailed. No, there's this asshole rabbit that keeps trying to dig a nest right outside my office window here. So the first time was me opening the door and going, Katie, the rabbit's back, so she could go chase him away. And then I realized that Katie's out trying to tire Daisy out by taking her on a walk. So then I had to run out there and throw a shoe at the rabbit.
Fair enough.
But anyways, I'm back. What did I miss? Can you just start over real quick?
No, we're good. You can listen back to this episode.
No, I got most of it, and I'm also catching up because I'm sure you just read this paragraph that I'm reading now.
For the most part, yes.
No, go ahead. So yeah, Hoshoryu, Onosho, you're holding those guys still.
Yep. Hoshoryu and Osho, I have them staying exactly where they were at Maegashira 5 because they had a 7-8 record. And so as we've seen, it seems like this exact situation in 3 straight Basho where you had 2 guys at like Maegashira 3, 4, or 5 that both had 7-8 records and both of them stayed at the same position. So I know for the last one, Kiribayama and Miyogiryu were at Maegashira 4, both at 7-8. We kept them at the same record. For the one before that, did we have something similar? I felt, yeah, Maegashira 5, Endo and Oki no Umi, both 7-8, both stayed at the same rank. So it's the 3rd time within just these 2 ranks in the past 3 Basho that 2 guys had the same record at the same rank and then didn't move in the next tournament. That's crazy
this one
coincidence. Yeah. All right, so Maegashira 6. So now the question is, do we think we can continue to further split up Oki no Umi and Kodawako or not? So the reason that's even a question is because I've always had a rule that's getting further and further shattered as I dive more into the Banzuke, that if you have the same record at the same rank, you should move up the same amount. So we've already placed Kodawako at Maegashira 4 East. We already split them up with putting Tobizaru in there because we think he deserved that record more than Oki no Umi. We're leaving Hoshoryu and Onosho in there, which we're okay with that happening because we know that happens. That happened on the last Basho. Chiyo no Kuni and Hoshoryu were both, I believe it was 9-6, or I think they were 8-7 from Maegashira 9. Chiyo no Kuni ended up at Maegashira 3. Hoshoryu ended up at Maegashira 5. So we know in this kind of situation, they're going to split those guys up. And so I'm just curious, are they going to split them up even further? Because when we placed Kotowaco that high, there's no other option for who could go there. But now for Oki no Umi, we compared him to Tobizaro, decided Tobizaro is more worthy of that rank. Maegashira 5, we figured Hoshoryu and Onosho were more worthy of that rank based on previous rank and record. Now we're at Maegashira 6, and we have new people that could be more worthy of that rank than Oki no Umi, Kiri Bayama and Miyogiryu. Both of them had 6-9 records from Maegashira 4 in the previous tournament. And if we are looking at just Oki no Umi alone and not as a pair with Kotowaco, we would say that obviously Kiribayama and Miyogiryu deserve this rank ahead of Oki no Umi. And a 2-rank drop after a 6-9 record versus a 6-rank jump for a 9-6 record, there's no competition in what you would do in a typical Banzuke, which actually this is kind of a typical Banzuke now since we're talking about the same scenario, 3 Bashos in a row. So I think we need to keep separating Kotowaco and Oki no Umi further and further, despite them having the same record at the same rank. I think they want to prevent over promoting people as much as possible, and splitting these guys up, it can allow them to place Oki no Umi more correctly based on his previous record and rank. So at Maegashira 6 East, I have Kiribayama, and Maegashira 6 West, I have Miyogiryu. Then we get to Maegashira 7. On the east side, I do have Oki no Umi landing here. So it's still a reasonable jump of 5 ranks after a 9-6 record. It's still an over promotion, but it's much better than the 8-rank jump that we had to give to Kotowaco. The other competition for this spot would be coming from Aoyama, who had a 4-11 record for Maegashira 3. And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they put Aoyama in Oki no Umi's spot here because he was in the Joy in the previous Basho. That would still be a drop of only 4 ranks after a 4-11 record. By the numbers that I use to determine who should be ranked ahead of who, Oki no Umi still deserves to be ranked ahead of Aoyama. So I'm going to stick with Oki no Umi at Maegashira 7 East. And then at Maegashira 7 West, I have Takada Fuji as another Rikishi that had a 7-8 record, just kind of stay put where he is to help prevent any further Banzuke messiness. And then let me catch my breath here for a second and breathe. All right. Maegashira 8 East, I have Chiyoshoma. And our candidates for this rank are still fairly limited. We only have 3 remaining Rikishi from Makuuchi that we can promote, and we still have over half of the Makuuchi ranks to fill. And so, of those 3, only Chiyoshoma makes sense here based on his previous rank and record. The other guys would not jump ahead of Chiyoshoma. And then we have to watch out for the Rikishi that are falling down the Banzuke, like we have Chiyonokuni, who is 0-15. At this point, we're also watching out for Hide no Umi, who was 5-10 for Maegashira 6, and Tochinoshin 5-10 for Maegashira 7. He's not going to land at Maegashira 8. So those are the kind of guys that we need to kind of keep track of at this point as we move down the Banzuke. So with, I think, only Aoyama, Hide no Umi are possibilities for Maegashira 8 East. But a 2-rank drop would be too generous for Hide no Umi when we have other options. So that just leaves Aoyama at Chiyoshoma for these 2 ranks. So Maegashira 8 East, I have Chiyoshoma. 8 West, I have Aoyama. As for who is going to be ranked ahead of the other between these 2, it's really a toss-up. So I'm just going to go with Chiyoshoma since he had the better record in the previous Basho. Who cares? I think both should end up at Maegashira 8, so we'll see. But something else we need to start keeping our eye out for is where are our Juryo promotees going to land, because this was a pretty nice Basho for the top of the Juryo ranks. We had 3 Juryo Rikishi that had 11 or more wins from the Juryo 1 and 2 ranks. And by my math, Ura had the same right to the Maegashira 8 rank as Chiyoshoma and Aoyama did. But I just cannot see the Banzuke committee considering the Juryo guys to get ranked here yet, just based on recent precedent where it seems like those guys get shafted far more than they get any benefit of Banzuke luck.
Sometimes they've been way higher promoted than we expected them, though. Do you think there's much of a chance of that?
I don't think we've really seen that situation since I've been predicting Banzuke's. I think since I've been doing the predictions, I started off thinking, I remember like the first one that we recorded an episode on, I had like Shima no Umi at Maegashira 8 or 9 making his debut, because he had a very similar like 12-3, 13-2 U show from Juryo 1 or 2. So I'm like, oh, he's going to rock it up there. And then he ended up at like Maegashira 12. And
How do you
it's been.
that's like exactly it. You're a
I-
monster. Yeah, he got 13-2 Juryo Yusho from Juryo 1 East, and he got up to Maegashira 12.
Yeah, and I think I had him going at Maegashira 8. So I've learned
Bull,
from
you
my
looked that up.
mistakes.
You looked that up or something.
I did not look that up. I promise you that. Speaking of Shima Naomi, I have him landing at Maegashira 9 East. Well, I shouldn't say landing, because he's just going to be staying where he was before. Another 7 and 8 guy that I'm going to have sticking with his previous rank to once again further prevent any more over promotions or under demotions. So right now, the guys that were looking to fill these ranks all deserve to be like Maegashira 11 or are the Juryo promotees. And so since the people that were looking to fill these spots deserve to be Maegashira 11, I don't think they're going to move Shima Naomi for any of them. And then Maegashira 9 West, I have Hide Naomi going here. So if we eliminate the Juryo Rikishi for consideration, Hide Naomi is really the only candidate left for Maegashira 9 West. I don't think they're going to promote Kaisei 6 ranks after a 9-6 record, even though they just did that with Sudo inexplicably in the previous Basho. And look what happened to him. He went 4-11, and he's going to be falling like a rock this Basho. And then the other Rikishi that are dropping down the Banzuke all either had the same record or worse than Hide Naomi, but all of them were at lower ranks, so none of them can be ahead of Hide Naomi on this next Basho. Chionokuni is the only exception to that, but he went 0-15, so he's gonna find himself at the bottom of the Banzuke. He's not in consideration for a long time yet. So that takes us to the bottom portion of the Banzuke at Maegashira 10. I mean, you guessed it. You got two guys that are 7 and 8, Tamawashi, Terutsuyoshi. Keep them where they are. Because once again, the most deserving non-Juryo Rikishi would be promoting Kaisei 5 ranks after a 9-6 record, or demoting Kagayaki 1 rank after a 6-9 record, or Tochinoshin 3 ranks after a 5-10 record. So we're going to continue to not move the 7 and 8 guys to help prevent those over and under demotions. And we actually have a bit of a backup from people that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 10 through 12. So we're actually, by the time we get to Maegashira 12, we're going to be ranking guys exactly where they should be on this Banzuke, which is going to feel good, man. All right. Maegashira 11. Maegashira 11 and 12 have kind of lumped together. The next 4 guys that deserve to be ranked, once again, according to my math, all deserve to be ranked Maegashira 12, and each one had a different record. So this is very similar to a situation that we had on the Banzuke at a very similar rank for the last Basho. And when we dissected what the Banzuke committee did on the Banzuke review episode, we had no friggin' idea how they put those 4 Rikishi in the order that they did. It didn't go by this guy had the best record, he was at top, and then consecutive down, or this guy had the best previous rank, and so on and so forth. No, they just mixed and matched, threw other guys in the middle of it. Who cares? So since we can't figure out their logic, we're not going to try to. We're just going to go by putting the guy that had the previous best record at the top of these 4, and then just descend from there for the most part. So of these 4 guys that we are discussing, it is Kaisei, who had 9-6 from Maegashira 15. It is Koto Nowaka, who had a 7-8 record from Maegashira 11. It is Kagayaki, who had a 6-9 record from Maegashira 9, and it is Tochinoshin, who had a 5-10 record from Maegashira 7. So, of those 4 guys, Kaisei had the best record, so I'm putting him at Maegashira 11 East, a 4-rank jump for him there. Koto Nowaka had the next best record of those guys, but I think they're going to want to drop him a full rank instead of just moving him a half rank down from Maegashira 11 to Maegashira 11 West. So I actually have Kagayaki, who had the 3rd best record of these guys, going in next, 2-rank drop after a 6-9 record. Plus, that gets Kagayaki just a little bit of Banzuke luck, which he tends to benefit from anyways. So he's probably going to end up at Maegashira 11 in East and throw it all to crap. But this is what we're going with because we can't figure out their logic, so we're just going to use our best logic that we know. So Maegashira 12 East, I got Koto Nowaka ending up there, 1 rank drop from Maegashira 11 East. And then Maegashira 12 West, I have Tochi Noshin, who had the worst record of these 4, dropping 5 ranks from Maegashira 7. So, like I said, we are now finally placing Rikishi where they belong, according to my math, for the first time on this Banzuke. But we've been talking about Juryo guys since Maegashira 8, and we're down to Maegashira 12, and we still haven't placed them. So we get to Maegashira 13, and this is where we're finally going to get to those Juryo Rikishi that we've been ignoring for a while. Something I was told by someone much smarter than me, Lendon from Tachiai, is basically this. If you have Juryo guys that deserve to be about the same rank as Makuuchi Rikishi, place all the Makuuchi Rikishi first and then worry about the Juryo Rikishi. So our 3 Juryo Rikishi that we're considering right now are Chiyo no O, Tokushoryu, and Ura. They all did really good at the top of Juryo, but they all deserve to be ranked at the place where we had the logjam on this Banzuke from ranks Maegashira 10 to 12. So now that we've sorted out the logjam with all of the Makuuchi Rikishi, there is a bit of a gap for where the next Makuuchi Rikishi deserve to be ranked. So that is where I'm going to be fitting in our 3 Juryo guys. So at Maegashira 13 East, I have Ura, who will be the top-ranked Juryo promotee coming out of this Basho, as he was 12-3 from Juryo 2. And then at Maegashira 13 West, I have Chiyo no O. He's going to be the next highest ranked after going 11-4 from Juryo 1. And there is some more recent precedent that makes me okay with this placement, because I look at it at face value. I'm like, Chiyo no O had an 11-4 record from Juryo 1. He's only ending up at Maegashira 13. That's only like a rank of 4 or 5 for a guy with an 11-4 record. That doesn't seem good enough for him. But if you go back to the Kyushu 2019 Basho, Azumaryu was ranked Juryo 1 and had an 11-4 record. In the next Basho, he was ranked Maegashira 15, behind every other Rikishi that was in Makuuchi in the previous Basho. So there's my precedent for them not giving a crap at all for people at the top of the Juryo ranks that have good records.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Screw you, Juryo guys.
And then we have Maegashira 14 on the east side. I have Tokushoryu going there after his 11-4 record from Juryo 2. And on the west side, I have Dayamami. And so Dayamami was the guy that kind of was the first person after the gap in where people deserve to be ranked. He deserved to be ranked Maegashira 14 after his 7-8 record from Maegashira 13. So have him dropping 1 rank here. Because nobody deserved like the Maegashira 13 rank according to the math. So it's just perfect to kind of fit in the Juryo guys right there. Maegashira 15 on the east side, I have Chiyomaru getting promoted after 8-7 record from Maegashira 16. So a 1 rank jump from him. Maegashira 15, I've got Tsurugisho. Maegashira 15 West, Tsurugisho demoting 7 ranks after a 4-11 record from Maegashira 8. There's a part of me that's real worried that they're going to do stupid stuff with Tsurugisho and put him ahead of some of these Juryo guys. I hope they don't, but it is a possibility. And then Maegashira 16 on the east side. This is where I got Chiyo no Kuni landing. I got him as a lucky guy to be staying in Makuuchi the last 2 times that we have seen a Maegashira 3 get 0-15 record. He ended up in Juryo. But for this Basho, there are 4 slam dunk demotions to Juryo, 4 guys absolutely being demoted to Juryo. But there's only 3 guys that should absolutely be promoted from Juryo. So because of that, we are already going to have to make 1 borderline promotion to Makuuchi. So in order for us to not have to make another borderline promotion up to Makuuchi, we're going to keep Chiyo no Kuni in the Makuuchi division this time. So Maegashira 16 East for him. Maegashira 16 West, I have Ishiura dropping a half rank here from Maegashira 16 to East to Maegashira 16 West after his 7-8 record. He could stay in place and just let Chiyo no Kuni slide past him to Maegashira 16 West instead, but I've already kept 5 Rikishi at the same rank after a 7-8 record. Don't want to add a 6th if I absolutely have to, and I don't have to here. So I'm going to just drop Ishiura down a half rank. And that gets us to our final Rikishi in the top division, Maegashira 17 East. I have Yu Takayama landing here. This is the Juryo guy that's going to be getting a lucky promotion. There are 2 Rikishi that could get this promotion. Yu Takayama, who was 8-7 from Juryo 4, or Ichi Yamamoto, who was 10-5 from Juryo 8. I ultimately think they're going to go with the higher ranked Yu Takayama here. He has also had previous experience in Makuuchi, so I think that might lend him a little bit of benefit in getting this final spot back in the Makuuchi division. So that is my Banzuke prediction for the Nagoya Basho. So since we talked about 4 guys being promoted from Juryo, that means we're going to be demoting 4 guys from Makuuchi, and those are Aki Sayama, who went 1-14 from Maegashira 13, Ryuden, who was held out and kind of retroactively suspended for this Basho, 0-15 for Maegashira 14, Midori Fuji, who was injured the entirety of this Basho, 0-15 for Maegashira 15, and Aqua, who just had another bad time, apparently got another like car accident or something and got staples in his foot. He went 5-10 for Maegashira 17. So
he also had a base jumping accident. He was bitten by a crocodile.
He got the piss slapped out of him on the final day.
And scurvy.
Just poor string of luck for this guy. But
last guy this
happened to was Terano Fuji, and we've seen where he's at. So keep your eye out on Aqua.
Yeah, at this rate, Aqua is going to drop all the way down to the bottom of the Banzuke and then rocket all the way back up to his previous height of the bottom of Makuuchi.
Yeah. So there's a lot that could go wrong with this Banzuke. I'm not very confident in much of it. I think some big spots that could hurt me. Hoshoryu and Onosha are going to stay put at Maegashira 5, which means if I miss like Tobizaru being demoted only 2 ranks to Maegashira 4 West, that means I'm going to be missing him by 2 ranks as he'll go down to Maegashira 6. And it would also mean that Okino Umi I missed by 3 ranks because he's the only other guy that would replace him at Maegashira 4. So there's some potential for some big misses in here. Like I said, there's a log jam of people that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 10, 11, and 12. Maybe they don't keep Tamawashi and Teitatsuyoshi at Maegashira 10, and they do promote Kaisei up 5 ranks after his 9-6 record and move those guys down. There's a lot, and maybe they are feeling generous to the Juryo Rikishi and promote them up to like Maegashira 9, 10, or 11 or something like that. There's just a lot of moving parts in this one. So Jake, what do you think is my most problematic area of this very problematic Banzuke?
The 3 that I had noted to bring up were the 3 that you just mentioned. Koto Eiko, Tobizaru, Okino Umi situation has high potential to have like one bigger error. Maegashira 10 through 12, I guarantee there's like a 0% chance that you get all 6 of those right in a row. I think that there's going to be at least something screwy there to toss you off.
Yep.
And then the Juryo, which is always kind of a little bit less predictable than the rest of it. But yeah, if I had to commit to something, I'd say Maegashira 10 through 12, just because I feel like that's just guaranteed. At least one of those is going to be off, you know? Well,
Yep.
I mean, if it's one off, then a second one also has to be off.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential for like 1 or 2 rank misses in there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll go with that one. Maegashira 10 through 12.
All right. So there's a lot of information in this one. I probably talked way too fast for a lot of people. For the people watching on video, the sun is shining through my window just right that it looks like I have been enlightened throughout the second half of this episode. And kind of after going through all this, I kind of feel enlightened. Maybe this is a good sign. Maybe I'm going to just knock this one right out of the park. We'll see. It might be a sign of things to come. And we will find out when the Banzuke is released on June 21st for our Basho that starts on God Bless America, July 4th. And so if you also love America or the country that you're from, for all of our non-American listeners, leave us a 5-star review.
Not one of your better ones.
If you didn't think this was one of my better transitions, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
Hurry to your social media and search for Grand Sumo Breakdown, as Ryan is apparently like transcending into a being of pure light over here. Seriously, that like just regular. Yeah, right there. That
Yeah.
angle. Just
Boom, regular. Boom, I'm heavenly.
Yeah, which of us do you think has like organized their room in order to like regulate lighting?
I forgot
Clearly
to
Ryan.
close the curtain before I started, and I was the one that was doing 98% of the talking, so I couldn't leave for a minute like you did.
That's why I
halfway through
didn't
the
actually say
episode.
anything. I didn't
Yeah.
want to like give you an opportunity to go fix your curtain. What were we talking? Oh, email us. Check out our Patreon. Thank you very much to everybody who has already donated to our Patreon. And also leave us voicemails at 805-613-SUMO, 805-613-7866.
It made me irrationally angry that you said those backwards. Instead of 805-613-7866, you said 805-613-SUMO first,
Oh,
which is wrong.
who cares?
Apparently me.
Okay, apparently Ryan cares. Got it. Answered. Question answered.
And I bet if Mac would ever listen to this episode, he'd be rolling over in his grave.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever listened to the podcast even while recording it all the way until the number is read. So
It's well confirmed that I'm the only person who listens to these podcasts.
You and my wife.
Yeah.
You and my wife. All right, that would be it.
Yep. All right. I've got nothing else. My voice hurts. Let's go.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.